And it's real, man. I mean, the emotional turmoil, you know, although hard and difficult at times, it was rewarding. And shortly after that was COVID. And I think that's when it probably was that aha moment. It's like, okay, you know, local leadership matters, because there was such an inconsistency based on the leadership. You know, at some point, you know, hey, these people's rights are being violated. Why is there such a disconnect?
Hi, and welcome to the Ordinary Brave podcast. Today we have Ollie Bagci, my friend and council member here in Cookeville. And I'm excited just to talk to him, just so for you all to get to know him and for him to also just be able to express himself and why he's running, and just he has some really neat stories about his family. So I'm excited for you to hear some of that today. Well, thank you for being here, Ollie.
It's a pleasure.
Well, first, just talk about how long you've been in Cookeville and any of that.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised here in Cookeville. My mom and dad met at Oklahoma State. He was actually an education major. He taught at a technical college in Turkey, and they sent him to the United States on scholarship to get a degree in education. And he decided to double major and get his undergrad in mechanical engineering as well. And that's when he met my mom. My mom was she was an education major, and she was a classically trained soprano and went to school on scholarship for singing.
Oh, that's probably where you get some of your talent.
It may run in the family. I don't know if you call it talent. And then they met, and then my dad graduated with a 4.0 and got an assistantship and got his master's and PhD from Oklahoma State. And then 1967, he got hired on at Tennessee Tech by Dr. Leighton Sissom, hired him. And so he was there ever since. And my mom got a job at the Putnam County school system. And back then, when you got pregnant, you couldn't be showing. So she had to resign for a little bit. And then, of course, that was that was in 67, I guess.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I started out in Oklahoma, but I was born in Cookeville.
Yeah.
And so anyway, born and raised here, went to school. And
was your dad a professor in the engineering department?
yeah, mechanical engineering, yes.
So we have a violin teacher that works with two of my kids, Francis Elliott.
Yeah.
He was at Tech forever.
He taught all the Bagcis violin.
Well, he was talking about you all today, and he was saying he knew your dad, and he was like, now his dad was he put a hard workload on those students, and he was like, but he was willing to help them. And he said, I remember one time that he slept in his office because the students were working on a project, and that way he was available on campus for them to knock if they needed help.
Yep, I remember those days well. So he stayed. He made himself available to his students, and that's. But he also made himself available to his family as well. So there's been, you know, particularly when I was going to Tech, he was still a professor there as well. So, you know, so there was many hours where you couldn't find a computer available, and I knew he had one in his office, so I was like, you know, I'd go in there and say, hey, Dad, can I use your computer? And he'd say, sure. I think he was happy that I was actually studying.
Yes. Well, I can relate a little bit. My dad was in the same high school that I grew up in, but instead of borrowing things for studying, it would be more like, can I have some lunch money? Can I?
Oh, yeah.
So, I was always bothering him for those things.
But anyway, yeah, and then I actually went to Tech Campus School until they closed it down, and then did a short stint at Northeast, and then my dad got tired of taking us to Northeast, you know, the long drive. You know, we lived on, we're technically Mount Vernon Estates, but right in front of Sherwood Forest, so it wasn't far from Tech, which is why he didn't want to drive all the way across town to drop us off at Northeast, so we ended up going to Jerry Whitson because that's where the bus took us.
And then, so you went to Tech,
I did.
What did you major in?
Well, the first time I started tech, we were on the quarter system, and I started out as an engineering major, and then I went into. I probably didn't have the discipline I needed, so but I think my dad always wanted me to serve. My dad served in the Turkish army, and he ran his household like that as well. So I was accustomed to the structure and discipline and those types of things, and he always encouraged me, particularly. Probably because I was the youngest, and he probably running out of money for college.
Yeah, how many brothers did you have, or did you have a sister too?
I have a sister and 2 brothers, so there's 4 of us kids. Not quite the Parkinsons, but
You're close.
So
I've heard it's either you have told me some tales about you and your brothers, or either I've heard about the Bagci brothers.
You may have heard about the Bagci brothers. The Bagci brothers was a thing, but we had a good time growing up. We were all plugged in certain things, just like no different than today. But so anyway, circle back around.
You went to the military.
Went to the military, and then of course
after you finished your engineering degree, or
no,
while you
no,
were still.
I was still in school and utilized the college credits. I was able to go in advanced and did my time there, and then while I was in, there's a lot going on back then. I remember that I'd just gotten out of boot camp and we went into Panama, but that was a short stint. And then I was in an attack squadron, and we got deployed during Desert Storm. And first time we were in theater, we were on the carrier. And then there was a small detachment. We were stationed in Incirlik, Turkey, which is on the northern border. It's northern border of Syria, and then we would fly. We were an A6 intruder, so we would fly the bombing missions over. Our squadron, when I say we, our squadron would fly the bombing missions over northern Iraq, particularly to protect the Kurds and enforce the no-fly zone.
Okay.
So anyway,
but you were in the Navy.
I was in the Navy, and so I was in the Air Wing, so I'm not boat Navy. So don't ask me any boat stuff.
Okay.
No knots here. But so I did that, and then got off active duty. And actually, while I was on active duty, I went to Old Dominion University. I was a finance major there, and then when I got off active duty, I was still in active reserves, transferred to the active reserves, and while I was doing that, got a job at a software company and started working for them, writing technical documentation and stuff like that, breaking down, some document for the customer base, and then did a lot of support calls and that kind of thing. So that was back in '93. And I was in a P3 squadron on the reserve, so that 1 weekend a month seemed to come awfully quick. Sounds on paper it's like, oh, that's only 1 week in a month, and then it's like, boy, you only got 3 weekends.
Yeah.
And I was also in the ROTC at Tech as well during that same time, so it's like.
You were doing PT and doing all
things.
It
was a lot, yeah. You can't tell it now, but I used to be in shape. Now I'm in pear shape. So, but did that, and then of course that was during the Clinton administration. So really, they were ramping down from the succession of hostilities and during Desert Storm. So they were really cutting budgets and things like that. So they ended up decommissioning the P3 squadron. Then I went to a logistics squadron, a VR squadron, and they were C9s. Then that got decommissioned. Then they closed the base, and then I was trying to find some place I could drill on weekends. So I tried, NAS Atlanta. That seemed awfully close, and of course they didn't have anything either because they were doing the same thing everybody else was doing, downsizing. So that kind of forced me into the inactive reserve. So I was IRR until '97. So.
Now, when did you meet your beautiful wife?
Well, that is a God story right there. So, after I graduated from Tech with a degree, as I actually, when I started back to Tech, I moved when I was in the reserves. I started back to work for the software company, changed my major from finance to information systems, and so that's kind of where I got that start. So, anyway, when I graduated, I started working for Bosch Automotive Motor Systems. It was a GE. It was a Bosch GE joint venture in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and that was in '97 and 1997. So started working there, and then kind of, with NAFTA and everything like that, we ended up moving a lot of production. Well, we were moving production. We ended up moving the production lines to that was was that? I think that may have been, I can't remember now. I think that was Toluca, Mexico. So we moved manufacturing there, and then so I was actually, we were moving engineering. I was the engineering IT guy per se, because back then, you had to have specialized software to do 3D modeling and a lot of your engineering calculations that often ran on Sun or any kind of Unix platform. So I did a lot of that systems administration, and it wasn't a typical IT guy job. You had to kind of, be able to adjust parameters and things like that for to get the computer to do what you wanted to do without running out of resources. And so I got hired on to do that, and then I was in the process of moving to the corp. They were moving all the specialties in engineering up to corporate up in Farmington Hills, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. And so I did that. Actually, I commuted back and forth between. I lived in Lebanon. I bought a house in Lebanon when I graduated because my brother lived there, and he actually worked at Bosch as well. He was an engineer there, so we were able to work together. So I had my little Chevy Spectrum, just a little 4-cylinder beater that I got while I was in college, and I remember pulling up in this driveway. I had to pull up into the flower bed because it leaked oil. He didn't want he had an exposed aggregate driveway. He didn't want me to run this driveway. But anyway, I would ride to work with him and stuff like that. But anyway, he left and came back to Cookeville and went to work at Fleet Guard. It was Fleet Guard at the time. And of course, he's been there ever since. He's still there now. He's over the engineering there. And then the day that it's interesting how God worked that out. I was commuting back and forth, and of course, I looked at homes. I was looking like Ann Arbor and places like that. So, which is odd because Michelle's an Ohio State person, so that would have been horrible. we would never mix Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I had my dentist was still down here, so when I worked it out where, this position came available, and I worked out, had an interview while I was down here. I think I was down here getting my wisdom teeth taken out, actually. So I worked out the interview.
I was going to say, makes for an interesting interview.
Yeah.
Guess you did it before, maybe.
It's like, it's that one where they say, hey, I went to Yale. Well, what's this gap? I went to Yale. I need the job.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to went to interview, and then the day that I had to sign on the dotted line to make the commitment to go ahead and relocate, and they were going to give me a relocation bonus and all this stuff, and that was just a lot of pressure, for a single guy, and the day that and I didn't really want to move to Michigan because it's that just wasn't my I just didn't like it. And so the day I had to sign on the dotted line, I got a phone call offering me the position of the IT manager at Stillman. Stillman was a Teledyne company, and they just got acquired by Zobus Industries, which was an Italian company. So they needed somebody to help them through that IT transitioning them from their the enterprise resource system on the Teledyne side, because I think they were charging like $10,000 a month or something just to be on their system, which is that's incentive to get off of it. So anyway, so what we had to do is Zobus Industries had their ERP package, but it was all written in Italian, and that was running on a Unix system as well, IBM AIX, and it was I had experience in Unix and stuff, so that helped me get that. But pretty much we had to transition, and then the user interface we had to make sure that got programmed from Italian into English. So I was part of that, and then of course I found that manufacturing started moving to Mexico. We actually I was part of the team that we actually stood up the plant in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, and had to go down there and make sure that they had all the IT infrastructure in place. We had to provision the network connectivity between the two, and back then that was a big deal. I mean, because you're actually having to work closely with not only your internet service providers at that time, but you had to provision and those, and then set up your endpoint devices. And so anymore, everybody just uses a virtual private network, and it just happens, So we got all that established, and we were able to get data between the two locations, and then we were able to move the production line. I was part of the hiring team, so I got to hire my replacement, and
Well, so where did Michelle fall in all of this?
Oh yeah, which hence the first question, right?
That's all right.
So when I got that position, I was actually able to sell my house in Lebanon. I mean, it was just like, as soon as I did, I mean, it sold. It was in the Castle Heights area. And then in that same week, I found a home here in Cookeville, out there near Cherry Creek. It's close to Cherry Creek. Found that home and was able to close on that. And literally the first week I moved here, Michelle was with Outback at the time. She did a lot of corporate openings. She would go she'd go all over the country, and she would train staff and to do all those things, how to greet and, all those things. And then she would do a lot of the stuff and the software on the back end of things, and make sure that staff was able to get set up in the system to get paid and all that stuff. And so, which kind of in her wheelhouse. And then anyway, I think it was her first week at the Cookeville Outback, and it was my first week back in Cookeville.
You went to get a steak.
Well, actually, I went to get salad and wings. I was eating salad and wings. I went with one of my buddies, and saw her, and then I actually asked my server. I said, "Who is that?" And so, anyway, then I asked her out, and I can remember it was we went on our first date was February 16th, because I made this stupid comment. Oh, I'm sorry. It was February 15th because I made the stupid comment of, oh yeah, too bad it wasn't, February the 14th.
And she still stuck it out
She
with you.
stuck it out. I probably almost screwed it up a couple times, but it was good though. And so we've been together ever since. And actually, yesterday was our 26-year anniversary.
Aw, happy anniversary.
Thank you. So.
And y'all have an awesome son named Reagan.
Yeah, he is awesome. He is our miracle child. We went through a period. When I say we, I mean, it's always harder on the mom. But we went through a period of infertility and really, and I don't know if it was really infertility. We didn't really know what it was at the time. But we had some unsuccessful pregnancies, and we probably did everything short of in vitro. And she actually, we ended up getting with Dr. Stuber, and of course he's no longer with us, but, he identified what the issue was. And sure enough, I remember, of course my mom would always say, oh, any news, any news. And, that was always difficult for her. I mean, very difficult. Like Mother's Day, I mean, she often would not really want to go to church on Mother's Day, weekend, because it's like, she wanted to be one of those women that stood when they recognized the moms. And it was really hard on her and her, but, so we empathize with those
that struggle,
those families. Yeah, absolutely. And it's real, man. I mean, the emotional turmoil, that she went through. And when you lose a child too, I mean, your hormones are all out of whack as well. And so, but anyway, I remember that, this is, my mom asked, hey, any news? And, Michelle was in the fridge with the door open, just like she was probably rolling her eyes, And I finally said, I said, Mom, I wish you would quit asking us about this. It's really putting a lot of pressure, on Michelle and all that, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it's like, and anybody that knew my mom, she was very easygoing, just kind of, just very not aggressive or anything. And then her eyes went wide open, and then she pointed her finger at me and said, I've been praying for you to have a son, and you're going to have a son. And I was like, and it was almost like, it's like, is that you, Mom? I mean, because she never spoke in that tone or anything like that. And she was just very firm. And of course, both Michelle and I were sick that month as well. So we're thinking, there's absolutely no way. And sure enough, we had conceived that month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because, so it was, I think that was God's way of saying, watch me. So, and we got Reagan.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your mom, I know that you kind of host a 5K.
Yes.
In her honor, and also to help other patients that are.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that.
I'd love to. Yeah. So every year, my mom passed away from lymphoma, and we used to do, back when American Cancer Society would do the Relay for Life and that sort of thing. I was would coordinate and do a 5K just to help as a fundraiser and piggyback on the walk around the fairground that they would do. So anyway, once I would do that, and then once my mom passed away with lymphoma, it's pretty quick. I think my sister-in-law Lisa and I decided, we have a cancer care fund here at the hospital, and we help, you know, we help local cancer patients, help them financially, help them, if they have a problem with meds or if they're going through their treatments, often, the transportation, often the medication and stuff like that leaves them financially strapped. So we can even assist with some utilities or anything like that for anybody going through that treatment. So we decided to go ahead and redirect our efforts in support of the Cancer Care Fund at Cookeville Regional, which is run through our foundation, and then keep the 100% of the proceeds stay in our community and help our patients in need that are going through cancer.
And this is the Splash Run.
Yep, that's the Summer Splash.
June 27th this year.
It is June 27th at 6 p.m.
Can people start registering now?
Absolutely.
Where do they go to register?
They can actually go to the CRMC Foundation website under events, and the link will be there for them to sign up.
Summer Splash Run.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and if we think about it, we'll put that link connected to this
absolutely. That'd be great. That'd be
podcast.
Great.
So hopefully I'll remember.
So we've been doing that's probably other than the turkey trot, that's probably one of the longest running 5K that we've had, or that's still around. I'm wanting to say this year is going to be, we're approaching the 20-year mark.
Oh, that's exciting.
So I can't remember exactly what year we are. I have to go back and dig through all because I keep all the info from all the different years. But I want to say we started it in, I can't remember when we started. It's been a long time.
Well, I know we've had some of our
probably in
kids.
2006 or something like that.
Yeah. So you should make that a big deal. It's the anniversary year.
Yeah.
But I know some of our Parkinson kids have run it over the years, and they
We'd
enjoy it. It's hot, but it's so fun, to be squirted
it was
with water.
Summer Splash, and we try and get we often get the Putnam County and Cookeville fire departments out there to create a misting station, and we get some folks with soaking stations.
Yeah, my kids think it's a blast. Yeah, I was gonna say, even though it's hot, it's a lot of fun because they get to run through and get squirted.
And you get wet. You'll get wet. In the race, but it's for a fantastic cause, and there's so many patients and families that have been helped over the years. So love to be able to have some of them give some testimonies, I think, and how the foundation and they've been helped through the Cancer Care Fund. I think that'd be a.
Well, let's jump to politics.
All right.
So you are just about to wrap up your first term as a councilman.
Yes.
What led you to want to run 4 years ago?
Well, 4 years ago, it was before that, I was actually assistant vice chair of the Putnam County Republican Party, and that's after I fulfilled that commitment. And I think once you serve, I'm going to back up a notch. I think once you serve in any capacity, I think that it's so rewarding that you want to continue giving back. And I know that, serving in the Navy, although hard and difficult at times, it was rewarding. It was, and so they gave back to me by, really providing me an education and experiences that I would have never been able to experience had I not joined the military. And then, so I served as assistant vice chair there, and then when that term was up, and shortly after that was COVID. And I think that's when it probably was that aha moment. It's like, okay, local leadership matters, because there was such an inconsistency based on the leadership in these particular communities, whether they were locked down or whether they had freedom, and at some point, hey, these people's rights are being violated in certain communities versus other communities. Why is there such a disconnect? And the reason being is leadership. Local leadership matters. And that was probably the catalyst that said, you know what? I had the desire to serve, and this was an opportunity for me to give back to my community and serve in a role that I could be an advocate for the people of Cookeville. And I really feel that in this term that I've been able to do that. And I think we've focused, this particular council, we've really focused on infrastructure. Because often, communities struggle because they don't have the infrastructure in place when opportunity presents itself. So, we are so fortunate in the city of Cookeville that we own our own utilities. We have power, we have the electric, water, and gas, that really helps us be able to drive those infrastructure improvements. So when, companies want to look at us as a prospect, we are able to say, hey, we can provide you, we already have the infrastructure in place. So if a company wants to come in and have a footprint here, they want to do it and execute and get that first product out the door, within 5 years. There's no way that we would be able to get that opportunity if we say, we'll be ready for you in 10 years.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, in some other areas where, that are even in our area that are served by other utility districts. They just, there's not an incentive to provide the level of service, where we have the infrastructure where we can support corporate demand.
So you want to run again?
Absolutely.
Second term, and is there anything that is just like driving that in you to come back again?
Well, I think we have so many, we really started an awful lot. We've got so much invested already, and often when you have momentum, you want to maintain that momentum and really keep your foot on the throttle, because once you stop, it's always hard to get that momentum back. So think of it as you get your momentum going down a hill so you can carry yourself over the other hill. If you get halfway up that hill and stop, you're going to roll backwards. And I feel that if we don't keep our foot on the throttle and keep that forward momentum, we, as a community, will probably regret that. And so I just would like to continue to serve. I think it's fulfilling me. It's an opportunity for me to give back to my community, and because this community has been wonderful to my family. I mean, we've been here since 1967, and they've invested in us, and we've invested in the community as well. I think often people will ask, what can we do to keep Cookeville? And I think probably one of the most instrumental ways in obtaining that and retaining that identity is the people that we invest in, who go to Tennessee Tech and come into our community. They come to our churches. We invest in them, right? We've got people who are born and raised here, They go to tech and then they leave. What we want to be able to do is offer them opportunity. We want the people that we invest in and pour into who they are Cookvillians. Mm-hmm. We want them to stay, and how we get them to stay is to ensure that they have opportunity where they can, one, get a high-paying job, wages, and then also be able to afford a home. Even though housing costs are going up all over the country, Cookeville is still one of the most affordable places to live in the state. So
that's awesome.
And that's just supply and demand too.
Yeah.
So those are other things. I've spent the last 4 years on the planning commission as well, and there's a balance that you have to take when it comes to how do we retain. I think, and I empathize too, because I love the outdoors. I know that Scott and your family
mm-hmm.
love to hunt as well. So how do we protect
mm-hmm.
these rural areas outside of our communities, that we can enjoy the scenery, the waterfalls, the creeks, we can go hunting, those types of things, yet still have enough supply to meet the demand where it doesn't increase the cost of the
mm-hmm.
good, which in this case is the housing. And it falls back to infrastructure. You got to have adequate infrastructure. We've expanded millions and millions of gallons of throughput at our sewer plant
mm-hmm.
to be able to sustain the growth that we project in the next several years. So often doing that allows you to build closer to the city center.
Mm-hmm.
And I think density, we have to, allow for some increased density to increase, and we can with infrastructure because now we have the capacity. So what that does is it allows people to not only live closer to the city center, we've invested in sidewalks, so there's walkable spaces, those type of things. And doing so, you are actually preserving farmland in these outdoor areas that would typically be consumed by developers, to meet the demand.
Mm-hmm.
And that demand, has to be met. If we don't meet that demand's going to go somewhere else, and
mm-hmm.
that's back to that momentum. You got to be able to sustain that momentum, and if you let off your throttle, then you're going to shrink as a community, and then you start getting into opportunity costs. What does it cost me for being too conservative and allowing these different opportunities to pass us by?
Mm-hmm.
Then you start to implode as a community, and we don't want that, because that's when you start seeing, homes for sale and there's no demand, and then now you truly do have a saturated market, and then you're going to see people's most important investment, which is their homes, decrease in value.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, we appreciate your service and giving back to
you.
the community. So as we wrap up, one last question. Talk to me about the Bagci name and the relation to Star Wars.
Okay. Well, back in the 70s, my dad's, one of his specialties was robotics and kinematics. And so back in the 70s, George Lucas and his team reached out to my dad at the university to get advice on robotics and kinematics for this new production, Star Wars, And if you think, I can distinctly remember it. It was like nothing we had ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the special effects and that sort of thing. So he helped advise Lucas and his team, and with those types of design, and was instrumental in design of R2-D2, and so as a tribute to my dad, when Luke's aunt tells Luke when he gets a translator, make sure it speaks Bagci, is a tribute to my dad.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That's where they get the Bagci language.
Yeah,
So.
I love it. Well, Ollie, thank you so much just for your time today and just sharing with us just about your family and who you are and why you want to give back to your community.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
And we hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. And if you did, we hope that you'll like and share it with others. Have a great day.